Hey everyone, welcome back to TechBit Academy. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. We're going to look at what actually makes a software project, something like a food delivery app, either succeed brilliantly or completely crash and burn. We all interact with software every single day, right? But behind the scenes, there is a super delicate architecture holding that whole ecosystem together. It's kind of a fascinating mystery. You can have the absolute most brilliant code, lightning-fast servers, totally cutting-edge tech, and yet the project can still just completely fall apart if you ignore the foundational pillars. The underlying code, that's really just one tiny piece of a much larger, way more human puzzle. In fact, most projects actually don't fail because of bad tech at all. They fail because of bad communication. So here's our roadmap. We're going to use the 4 Ps as a sort of forensic toolkit to trace the journey of building a successful food delivery app. We'll look at Pillar 1, the people, Pillar 2, the product, Pillar 3, the process, Pillar 4, the project, and finally, wrap up with mastering the 4 Ps. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Pillar 1, the people. The big takeaway here is that great tech literally means nothing without the right humans guiding it. And when we say people, we definitely aren't just talking about some stereotypical coder sitting in a dark basement chugging energy drinks. We mean absolutely everyone who touches the project in any capacity whatsoever. Just think about the surprisingly diverse cast of characters it takes just to get a simple food app off the ground. Sure, you've got developers building it and designers making it look good. But step back a bit. You've got a project manager stressing over the timeline, testers actively hunting for bugs, the client actually dictating what the app needs to do, and of course the end users. Every single one of these roles is a vital point of failure or success.
And this is exactly where things can go off the rails. If these people aren't managed well and they aren't talking to each other, the app fails. I mean, think about it. If your developers and designers aren't talking to the client, you might end up building this incredibly brilliant complex feature that literally nobody asked for. Regular communication is the ultimate fix. It bridges that dangerous gap.
Moving right along, Section 2, Pillar 2, the product. So your team is talking. Great. Now you actually have to align on what it is you're making. If there's even a little bit of ambiguity about the final product, your project is pretty much doomed from day one. The product encapsulates the specific features, the complex requirements, and those all-important end-user needs. If your definition is vague, you are in danger. Take a look at this stark contrast. A directive like, hey, make a food app, is an absolute recipe for disaster because it leaves way too much up to interpretation. A winning definition needs to be specific and tangible. Things like a secure user login, a dynamic restaurant listing, a real-time order system, and seamless online payments. That level of detail is what gives your team an actual roadmap to follow.
All right, Section 3, Pillar 3, the process.
Now that we know exactly what our app is meant to do, we need a reliable way to actually build the thing. Without a structured process, you're basically just winging it. You end up with random work, people duplicating efforts, and just daily confusion. A solid process takes the absolute chaos of creation and brings a deliberate, measurable step-by-step order to the whole thing. There are a bunch of established ways to do this in the industry. You've probably heard of traditional frameworks like Waterfall, or maybe modern ones like Scrum, or dedicated testing processes. But for our food delivery app example, we're going to focus specifically on an Agile approach. It's incredibly popular because it keeps teams moving fast and adapting on the fly.
And here is why Agile is so satisfying to use. By mapping out the work chronologically, Agile takes that daily confusion we talked about and turns it into a clear week-by-week march to the finish line. Week 1, the team knocks out the user login. Week 2, they focus purely on the core order system. Week 3, payment integration. Everyone knows their priorities, and any roadblocks get caught instantly.
Which brings us to Section 4, Pillar 4, the project. You can think of this as the overarching umbrella over the whole shebang. If the product is what you're building and the process is how you build it, then the project is the active, rigorous management of that entire operational ecosystem. It's the planning and controlling required to make sure the app actually crosses the finish line. To keep the whole endeavor from crashing into a wall, a project manager has to ruthlessly control 4 distinct elements. First, time, hitting those tight deadlines. Second, cost, protecting the budget. Third, scope. They have to lock down what's being built to avoid dreaded scope creep, when clients just endlessly ask for one more quick feature.
And finally, risk, actively neutralizing threats before they even happen.
And finally, Section 5, Mastering the 4 Ps. Let's look at the big picture.
When you zoom out, you really start to see how fragile and interconnected this whole foundation is. The people, the product, the process, and the project, they rely on one another completely. It's like a giant puzzle. If you are missing even one of these pillars, it pretty much guarantees a complete structural collapse of your software build.
I want you to remember our ultimate takeaway from today's explainer. The sharpest code in the world absolutely cannot save a project that ignores the human element. You can have the most perfect agile process and a crystal clear product definition, but if your people aren't communicating or your project constraints just spiral out of control, failure is pretty much inevitable.
So, as we wrap up and you head back to your own teams and your own software builds, I want to leave you with this final critical thought to chew on. Which of the 4 Ps is your team ignoring right now? Because finding and reinforcing that weak pillar today is exactly what's going to save your project tomorrow.